had so much fun already, and we haven't even heard the message yet. Woo! We're on fire today. And it is a bright, sunshiny day for me because I get to introduce one of my dearest friends, Reverend Gio Downer. Gio and I became acquainted quite a few years ago when we met on the LUT Leadership Program track. We, in fact, went through all 3 of our leadership sessions together and went through the skills demonstration experience together, which, trust me, is an experience that bonds you for life. We have been blessed to go back and forth between our respective locations. I get to go to Hawaii, and he gets to come to Dallas. Who has the better deal? I don't know. And share time with each other. Reverend Gio is the minister for Unity Windward, which is on the windward side of the island of Hawaii. And it's just a fascinating and beautiful spiritual community. We are so blessed to have him here today to deliver a message for us. There are some people that when they speak, you just know that you're hearing capital T truth, that your life is going to be impacted, and that you are going to leave feeling a sense of uplift. And isn't that why we're all here? So Reverend Gio brings his aloha spirit, his fascinating energy and musical talent, and his abundant gifts to share with us at Unity on Greenville. Please help me in welcoming him.
Thank you, Nancy. There's no pressure after that, is there? I do want to say it's really good to be home. I want to let you know that I did the math a little while. It's 25 or 28 years ago, 2 or 3 blocks from here. It was on one of the M streets. I don't know which one it was. It was 25 years ago. So it is good to be home. It's good to know that this is a bright, sunshiny day. Because even though you've been experiencing some rain lately, where I come from, there's been a little bit of rain too. Maybe you've heard about it in the news. But more importantly, it's good to be home, right here and right now, with my nephew. Come on up here. His name is Dan Joyner, and he's going to assist me a little bit. I'm going to chat for a little bit, but I want to definitely get him set up and have him in a place to where he can spring forth. That's splendid. That's beautiful. You know, as I said, I lived a few blocks away from here, and at that time, it was me against the world. And maybe you know something about that, about how you feel like you need to make your mark, and you feel as though that in many ways the world is against you. What I didn't understand was that I was creating exactly that I was fulfilling my own prophecy. And this morning what I'd like to do is join with you in being home right where we are. Being at home in your heart, recognizing that this earth is our home. And no matter where we might go on this earth, we are always at home. Home is where your heart is. It was a very wise man, an exceedingly impactful leader, whose name is Chief Seattle, who once said, "The earth does not belong to man. Man belongs to the earth." This morning I'd like to invite you to remember the source of who we are, the source of who I am. I want to also share with you that being at home, this morning I looked at the bulletin someone handed it to me. And right here on the front, there's our vision. We see a world where every being lives in awareness of their sacred oneness and divine light. As we hold that vision, we recognize that every day is Earth Day, not just today. Every day is a day to fully impact ourselves in the source of where we are, of who I am. Let's remember our source, and remember it in any way that we can. God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time, with no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of life. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've made. Every burning star a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. Take a moment and breathe in. To truly breathe in and recognize that as you breathe in, you're taking in the oxygen that comes all around us. There's so much to the air all around us, but it becomes a part of you. We are never separate from this earth. And the truth is, we are never separate from our source. May we create a world where we recognize our union with that source. And if you choose to call that God, if you choose to call that Wakatanka, whatever you might call it, it is present in all of your life. And we know that we are always at home. May we be at home places and in all things. May we know this truth in the creation of what we might do. There are many scriptures that populate our world. There's one in particular this morning I'd like to share with you. It comes from something known as the Gospel of John. Now, most of us don't remember this, but I'm going to remind me every single day. I'm committed to remember that gospel means good news. And more importantly, when I come across anything in my life and it's not the good news, it's not the gospel. Let's remember the good news of our union in everything that we do. In every step that we take, in every movement that we make. Let's remember that this statement that comes from the Gospel according to John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. By the way, that Word, it's you. The same was in the beginning with God. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Many of us have been taught throughout many years that this passage is referring to Jesus. And that's true. The beautiful thing about what we teach in unity is not only is this about Jesus, this is about you. This is about you becoming the Word and the creation in your life. The creative principle that brings forth the light. There's no need to comprehend the darkness anymore, because you are the light of the world. You are here to be the good news. And on this Earth Day, let's commit ourselves to this good news. I'm going to invite you to join with me in an affirmation. We've already done a lot of stating things together. And even though you've probably brought your heart and your passion and your delight to a number of things that we've already said, I'll invite you to bring it forth in this particular statement. Let's say this out loud together. I celebrate the good news of the presence and power of God in all. It's in you. It's in everything around us. It's in what we envision. It's in every promise and every possibility and every step. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. So will I. So will I. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where you send it, so will I. was the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King who once said, "He who sings, prays twice." This morning I'm inviting you into prayer. I'm inviting you to have your life be a prayer. The beautiful thing about church is that we get together and we have a time when we have specific prayer. But in unity, we're also inviting you into the fact, the reality, that your life is a prayer. In this prayer, may we lift our consciousness that much higher, to remember our source, to remember the beautiful world from which we have sprung forth, and to remember, most importantly, that we might spring forth a life of abundance. You see, I have a master teacher who once said, "I am come that they might have life and have it more abundantly." May we live our life in abundance and be fully aware of the wonderful opportunities that are all around us. Let's commit to that on this Earth Day. Commit to the prayer that our lives might be. From a very important passage of Scripture that is significant in my life, known as A Course in Miracles, it says, "Prayer is a ladder reaching up to heaven. At the top, there is a transformation much like your own. For prayer is part of you." This transformation is a part of you. It's who we become. It's who we proclaim. It isn't just something that's segmented apart. It is our life. So here's that unity minister. He's going to ask you one more time. Would you join with me in prayer? Would you proclaim with me an amazing, powerful affirmation that is the good news of you? That we can transform our lives and we can transform this entire world when we remember our source and we remember the good news that we are. Say this with me, out loud, together. I celebrate the good news of the presence and power of God in all. God of salvation, chase down my heart through all of my failure and pride. On a hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed a work of art called love. If you gladly choose surrender, so will I. I can see your heart 8 billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you lived to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. could amount to your desire. You're the one who never leaves the one behind. Thank you, my friend.
Amen.
I stand before you today at home. I stand before you today very blessed. My nephew and I have had a wonderful relationship for most of my life. And I live in the most amazingly beautiful place on this planet. And I miss him. In these last couple of days, I've had an opportunity to meet his daughter, who's hiding her head right now. She's very much an introvert. She's shy, just like me. And it's an incredible blessing. My heart is full this morning. Yet it's not a matter of the circumstances. You see, each of us have an opportunity every single day to create our lives from that place of bliss and wonder. In the beginning was the Word. You are the beginning. You are the connection to this amazing thing that some people call God. You can call it whatever you want. But let's commit in this moment, on this Earth Day, to remember the truth of our connection. To remember the truth of the salvation that we live in. You know, in Unity, most of us don't really talk about salvation a whole lot. But the co-founder of the Unity movement was a man by the name of Charles Fillmore, who spoke specifically to that in this way that I'd like to share with you this morning. Salvation comes to man as a free gift from God. It embodies a knowledge of God that frees one from all limitations and points the way by which mind and body can be lifted up to the spiritual place of consciousness. We talk about being free from limitation in Unity quite a lot. We talk about the ways in which our mind and body is lifted up. That salvation comes from our union with God. The very thing that the master teacher Jesus taught every moment on his life. Every moment of his every step and breath. We get an opportunity to follow in that pathway, to follow in that truth. As we breathe in, we see and feel and know our connection. That breath of life is the inspiration by which we can go forth into our world. The co-founder of Unity, Charles Fillmore, spoke to that when he said, God is in the universe as its constant breath or inspiration. Hence, it's only necessary to find the point of contact in order to understand the one in whom we all live and move and have our being. On this Earth Day, I'm going to invite you into a consciousness that on the earth we live and move and have our very being in God, in the good news that you are. Join with me just once more in proclaiming this affirmation. Let's say it out loud together. I celebrate the good news of the presence and power of God in all. I celebrate you. I celebrate that you have come and prepared this home for me to be in. I celebrate that we can do this everywhere on this planet. That we can make an awareness and consciousness that there is a home for anyone. celebrate the God in you. Namaste. And by the way, where I come from, we also have another saying that's somewhat similar to namaste. Aloha. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, LD.
Thank you for that message of good news.